not a really a student.
People by proxy.
Yeah, proxy. Student by proxy, yeah.
So what is the engagement, your current engagement?
So I am in number of committees at the national level, but right now I am also a strategic advisor for Asuka Trust for Research in Ecology and the Environment. So for the Himalayan region, I have developed their strategy, their plans, and also now got funding for next 5 years.
Yeah.
Expanding from project mode to a really institutional program mode, and that is what I've been able to do in last 1.5 years.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
We had one guest earlier. He has done a lot of Himalayan studies. Professor, I think Thakur from Dehradun.
Yes, I know Professor Thakur.
Yeah.
He's mostly on geology, I think.
Geology, yes.
Yes, I know him very well.
He had visited us before COVID, so in physical mode he was with us.
Yeah.
And then he has been on our board of management also for quite some time.
Oh, very, very nice. Yeah. I was in Bhopal on last October 5th for again another memorial lecture, but I went there physically.
Okay. So if you can spare once or twice, at least twice in a year, time for the meetings, would like to request you to be on our board so that we can take the advantage of your experience and wisdom.
Sure. Let's touch on that.
Yeah. You may think over it. I will send you forward an invitation also. Then they may respond. Yeah. Yes, Ujjwala, I think we can start now.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good morning to everyone present here. With great honor and enthusiasm, I, Dr. Navneeta Upadhyay, Assistant Professor in the Department of Chemistry, extend a warm welcome to this esteemed gathering. Today, we unite to celebrate the extraordinary legacy of Sir C.V. Raman, a visionary scientist whose groundbreaking discovery of the Raman effect has not only earned him the Nobel Prize, but also cemented India's place on the global scientific map. On this special occasion, we are graced by the presence of eminent personalities whose contributions to education, research, and leadership continue to inspire us all. It is with great respect and admiration that I welcome our Honorable Chief Guest, Padma Shri Dr. Eklavya Sharma, whose remarkable contribution to science, education, and environment have left an incredible mark. I also extend a warm welcome to Honorable Vice Chancellor of Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Dr. Upinder Dhar, Rector and Dean FDSR, Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Dr. Santosh Dhar, heads of institutes, coordinators, heads of departments, faculty members, and dear students. Your presence here today elevates this event, and we are truly grateful to have such distinguished personalities among us. Let us begin this program in the spirit of scientific inquiry, learning, and inspiration, just as Sir C.V. Raman envisioned. So now I request the technical team begin this auspicious occasion by invoking the blessings of Goddess Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom and knowledge. So let us commence with the traditional lighting of holy lamp, a tradition that symbolizes the pursuit of knowledge. Technical team, please.
श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्करप्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा।
Thank you. To honor our distinguished chief guest, Padma Shri Dr. Eklavya Sharma, now I request Honorable Chancellor of Shri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Shri Purushottam Dasji Pasari, and Honorable Vice Chancellor of Shri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Dr. Upinder Dhar, for the floral welcome of chief guest on virtual platform. This gesture symbolizes our deep respect and gratitude for his invaluable contribution to the field of science, engineering, and education. Thank you, sir. We now present a short documentary showcasing the groundbreaking contributions of Sir C.V. Raman to the field of science as his lasting legacy.
One of the most prominent Indian scientists in history, C.V. Raman was the first Indian person to win the Nobel Prize in Science for his illustrious 1930 discovery, now commonly known as Raman effect. It is immensely surprising that Raman used equipment worth merely rupees 200 to make this discovery. The Raman effect is now examined with the help of equipment worth almost millions of rupees. Chandrasekhar Venkat Raman was born at Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu on 7th November 1888 to a physical teacher. Raman was a very sharp student. After doing his matriculation at 12, he was supposed to go abroad for higher studies. But after medical examination, a British surgeon suggested against it. Raman instead attended Presidency College, Madras. After completing his graduation in 1904 and MSc in Physics in 1907, Raman put through various significant researchers in the field of physics. He studied the diffraction of light, and his thesis on the subject was published in 1906. Raman was made a Deputy Accountant General in Calcutta in 1907 after a successful civil service competition examination. Very much occupied due to his job, he spent his spare time in the evenings conducting scientific research at the laboratory of the Indian Association for Cultivation of Sciences. On certain occasions, he even spent entire nights there. Such was his passion that in 1970, he resigned from the position to become the Professor of Physics at Calcutta University. On a sea voyage to Europe in 1921, Raman curiously noticed the blue color of the glaciers and the Mediterranean. He was passionate to discover the reason for the blue color. Once Raman returned to India, he performed many experiments regarding the scattering of light from water and transparent blocks of ice. According to the results, he established the scientific explanation for the blue color of seawater and sky. There is a captivating event that served as the inspiration for the discovery of the Raman effect. Raman was busy doing some work on a December evening in 1927 when his student K.S. Krishnan, who later became the director of the National Physical Laboratory, New Delhi, gave him the news that Professor Campton had won the Nobel Prize on scattering of X-rays. This led Raman to have some thoughts. He commented that if the Compton effect is applicable for X-rays, it must also be true for light. He carried out some experiments to establish his opinion. Raman employed monochromatic light for the mercury arc, which penetrated transparent materials and was allowed to fall on a spectrograph to record its spectrum. During this, Raman detected some new lines in the spectrum, which were later called Raman lines. After a few months, Raman put forward his discovery of Raman effect in a meeting of scientists at Bangalore on March 16, 1928, for which he won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1930. The Raman effect is considered very significant in analyzing the molecular structure of chemical compounds. After a decade of its discovery, the structure of about 2,000 compounds had been studied. Thanks to the invention of the laser, the Raman effect has proved to be a very useful tool for scientists. Some of Raman's other interests were the physiology of human vision, the optics of colloids, and the electrical and magnetic anisotropy. Sir C.V. Raman became the Fellow of the Royal Society of London in 1924. A year later, he set up Raman Research Institute near Bangalore, where he continued scientific research until his death, which was caused by a strong heart attack on 21 November 1970. His sincere advice to aspiring scientists was that scientific research needed independent thinking and hard work, not equipment.
Thank you. To honor the legacy of legendary Sir C.V. Raman, I now invite our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Eklavya Sharma, Honorable Chancellor Shri Purushottam Dasji Pasari, and Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Upinder Dhar to pay tribute to his remarkable journey and outstanding contributions. Thank you. It is my great privilege to invite Honorable Vice Chancellor of Sri Vaishnav Vidyapith Vishwavidyalaya, Dr. Upinder Dhar, to deliver the welcome address. His visionary leadership and unwavering dedication have been instrumental in shaping our institution. We are truly honored to hear from him today. Sir, please.
Good morning to all of you. At the outset, I would like to extend a very warm and hearty welcome to Dr. Eklavya Sharma ji, who is the distinguished speaker for today. Well, there is a background to these orations. When our university was established in 2015 through a gazette notification of the state of Madhya Pradesh, one of the questions that crossed our mind was that how are we going to be different from other institutions? There were already many institutions, many universities in the country, in the state, and even in the city of Indore. And after a lot of deliberations, we felt that one unique feature should be that we should sensitize the students towards the value system. What are the values? Why values are important in life? Therefore, we introduced right from the beginning, we introduced a course on human values, professional ethics and human values, which was made mandatory for all the students, irrespective of the stream. Whether a student was in science, engineering, social sciences, humanities, whichever, it was made compulsory for all, mandatory for all students, because human values, irrespective of subject, are important. Second course that we thought of was environment studies. So another course which was on environmental studies was introduced, which was again made compulsory, made mandatory for all students. Because we felt that it is necessary, time has come to sensitize the students towards the importance of environment. Further on, we thought that, well, generally, students believe that all discoveries, all inventions have happened abroad. Our nation has not contributed much. Therefore, to dispel this ignorance, we felt that let us have a series of orations which will be delivered by the sons, great sons and daughters of the country who have made very significant contribution in their respective disciplines or subjects. So we started with Aryabhat Memorial Oration. And the first oration was delivered by Dr. Anil Kakodkar, former chairman of the Department of Atomic Energy, who was part of the team of the Pokhran experiment. So we believe that when Anil Kakodkar will himself share the first-hand experience of Pokhran with the students, the understanding will be better than only by reading from the book. Similarly, then we introduced this one, that is Sir C.V. Raman Memorial Oration. Then Vikram Sarabhai Memorial Oration. Mokshagundam Visvesvarya Memorial Oration, and so on and so forth. Intention was bimodal. First was to make our students, our younger generation, including young faculty, to believe and know that our great country has also produced great scholars, great scientists who have contributed, and their contributions are well acknowledged. And secondly, what are the contributions which some of these have made? As we have just now seen in this short film, C.V. Raman was born on 7th of November 1888. With a modest background, family background, he rose to great height. And his work, which is as mentioned in the short film also, is very well known as the Raman effect, for which he was conferred Nobel Prize in 1930. That time, incidentally, he happened to be the General President of our Indian Science Congress also. So to remember such great people and also to understand their contributions, we are once again here on this special occasion. And to commemorate this, as we know, Government of India declared 28th February as Science Day. Interestingly, most of the days which have been identified or declared by Government of India are birthdays of these great people. But in the case of Raman, it is not the birthday. His birthday was 7th of November. But it is directly associated with the Raman effect, the contribution that he made, which was declared on 28th of February. So we are very happy that Dr. Eklavya Sharma is with us, a great contributor who has made himself visible through his contributions, through his works, and we are very happy to have him with us today. I would now once again like to welcome him on this very special occasion of Science Day. So not speaking further and not standing between our great speaker, great orator, and all those who have joined to listen to him, I wish happy learning to all who are with us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words and invaluable guidance. We are truly grateful for your presence and support. Thank you so much. Now I invite Dr. Ujla Daswani, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry and Coordinator, Science Club of Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya for reading citation of our esteemed guest.
Thank you, ma'am. It is a matter of great privilege for me to read the citation for Padma Shri Dr. Eklavya Sharma. I quote, Padma Shri Dr. Eklavya Sharma is a renowned ecologist with over 4 decades of expertise in sustainable development, especially in the Himalayan region. He currently serves as the strategic advisor and distinguished fellow of Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and the Environment at TRI, Bangalore, India. Internationally recognized for his pioneering research in the Himalayas, Dr. Sharma is also known for his advocacy of regional cooperation and efforts to raise awareness about global mountain issues. His work has significantly advanced scientific knowledge and its application in policy and practice. Throughout his career, Dr. Sharma has held prominent positions, including Regional Head of the G.B. Pant National Institute of Himalayan Environment in Sikkim, Deputy Director General of the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, and Vice Chancellor of the TERI School of Advanced Studies in New Delhi. Dr. Sharma is a Fellow of the Indian National Science Academy, INSA, and the National Academy of Sciences, India. His exceptional contributions have earned him several prestigious awards, including the Young Scientist Medal from INSA, the Vishisht Vaigyanik Puraskar from India's Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and the Excellence Award from Sikkim University and the Government of Sikkim. In 2024, he was honored with the Padma Shri, the 4th highest civilian award in India, in recognition of his outstanding achievements in science and engineering. Dr. Sharma's expertise includes biodiversity conservation, climate change assessments, and resilience building. He played a key role in promoting regional cooperation and science diplomacy in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. His leadership in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region has influenced policies affecting 240 million people across 8 countries. Dr. Sharma has advocated for the mountain agenda in global initiatives like the Sustainable Development Goals, climate summits, and biodiversity conventions. He has contributed to various national and international roles, including chairperson of the G.B. Pant National Institute of Himalayan Environment, director of the International Mountain Society, and advisor to multiple global organizations. His work has left a lasting impact on science policy integration, where he advocates for sustainable practices and collaborative solutions to address environmental challenges. Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya is privileged to present this citation to Dr. Eklavya Sharma for placing the 7th Sir C.V. Raman Memorial Oration as Distinguished Speaker on February 28, 2025. Unquote.
Thank you, Dr. Ujla. Now I invite Honorable Chancellor and Honorable Vice Chancellor of SVV for the presentation of citation. This recognition is a token of deep appreciation and respect for for our distinguished chief guest. Thank you. It is a great honor and privilege to invite our esteemed chief guest, Padma Shri awardee, Dr. Eklavya Sharma, to deliver his oration. His remarkable contributions to science, education, and environment have been truly inspiring. Sir, we eagerly look forward to your insightful words. Sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Upadhyay. Let me try to put my presentation first, then I will start. Is the presentation visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It is.
So, Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Upinder Dhar, distinguished faculties, the students, the Chancellor, and all the participants, I think, who are listening to me. It's really a great honor for me to deliver 7th C.V. Raman Memorial Oration today. Although it's virtual, but I feel that I'm very homely and I'm right in the university because of the proceedings that has happened just now, which was really impressive. I have chosen to speak in Himalayas this time. And there are a number of reasons why I'm speaking, because many students who are in India, we know about Himalaya, but we do not know about Himalaya, how Himalaya is helping to help large number of population, and it is so important for the survival of the planet itself. So in this context, I thought I should speak about the Himalayas. And I have chosen a topic which is on transformation. So in the beginning, I will try to talk about the mountains, the importance of the Himalayan region, and some of the issues, and why we need to transform. So that is the reason. And then in that transformation, we would like to see the resilience built in this region. So when I say in this region, you will know so many countries are related to this Himalayan region, and specifically South Asia, because the lifeline of South Asia is the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. So let me start. Okay. So let me start by introducing you with the importance of mountains globally, and then bring you to the Indian Himalayan region and the Indian Himalayan region. See, about 1 billion people out of 8 billion people live in the mountains of the world. And nearly more than 50% of global goods and services come from the mountains. So let me, global mountains. Here, if we look at the terrestrial area, it is about 22% of the terrestrial area is in the mountains. Nearly 25% of the biodiversity, including the world's biodiversity hotspots, are from the Himalayan region. And I have to tell you, out of 36%, 50% of the biodiversity hotspots are in the mountains. And more importantly for students, 80% of food comes from 20 plants in this world. And out of that, 6 of them have originated in mountains, like maize, potato, barley, sorghum, and tomatoes, apples. So this is few very important services that we get from the mountains. And from our point of view, if we are living in South Asia, this is the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. Just let me move this panel. in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. And this is a slide picture taken from the satellite. And one of the astronauts who was visiting us in East Timor says when he is in the space, he can see only this region of the world, of the planet, by naked eye. So by saying this, what he's trying to say is that one of the magnanimous mountain systems in the world, and it's very important because which is also seen from outside very prominently. Almost all great mountains, highest mountains in the world are here. This is also called third pole. So apart from Arctic and Antarctic, most of the frozen water, which we call glaciers or snow or permafrost, are here. That's why it's also called third pole. And most importantly, it's a global asset because you will hear later on, see, it is really helping to get the food security of the people in the region and outside. Energy, we talk about hydropower, lots of energy, water sources. 63% of India's water is coming from the Himalayas, and the carbon sequestration, cultural and biological heritages and diversity you can see. So if we look at this region in a map, the darker portions are the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, and the light blue are the river basins. So nearly 10 major rivers originate from the mountains. 8 countries share it. So it is Afghanistan, Pakistan, China, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. So these are the 8 countries which share. So SAR +2 and -2. +2 is China and Myanmar. -2 is there is no Sri Lanka and Maldives. So this is what I normally define. And then you can see nearly 250 million people live in the mountains and 2 billion people are in the downstream. So these river basins are very, very important and critical from that point of view. So now if we look at the map and try to see the population density, mountains are sparsely inhabited. But if we look at Indus Basin, Ganga Basin, Brahmaputra Basin, Yangtze River, Yellow River, then you can see those dark patches very much highly populated. That's why it's 2 billion people are living here. And this is the most irrigated region in the world. And the food which is produced from these basins caters to 3 to 4 billion, half of humanity. So how important this region is in terms of not only India, but the entire humanity is very, very important. So we talk of formal science, but traditional knowledge systems are equally important. And many of our knowledge systems, if we look, we learn, even in the formal one, we learn from the traditional knowledge systems. And here in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, which I mentioned about 8 countries, nearly 1,000 living languages are there. So with that living languages, you can associate so much of traditional knowledge systems, and nearly 70% of them are at risk of, or they are threatened that they might disappear. Because now, because of modernization and communication, slowly these languages are not used. So with that knowledge system, traditional knowledge systems are also withering. So that is a major concern. So some of the findings which now I am going to talk today has come out of the effort of Hindu Kush Himalaya assessment, which I led from 2014 onwards for 5 years, where 350 scientists from all over the world we worked on that publication. It came in Springer Nature. So some of these findings are very important. I'd like to tell to the students here, see, science is very important if we want to have really a sustainable development. And science can come only if we have a good research and practices around. Another thing which I would like to say, see, we in the current Prime Minister of India says that we want to have developed India by 2047. all the students of this university and elsewhere. So you may be from 20 to 24 and add another 22 years, you will be the people who will be really enjoying that 2047 developed India, and even now you will be able to contribute. So in that case, I think science should be the basis. When I say science, it's also social science. It's a good research, I mean. And so all forms of research, anthropological, social, economic, as well as other natural and physical sciences. So this is a very important point that we should remember as all of the students. If you look at this slide, and you can see the tallest mountain with some clouds at the back, so that is Mount Everest. So I have been very lucky to see Mount Everest personally, number of occasions. So that is the Mount Everest, and the entire Himalayan region actually is being impacted by climate change. And whatever is happening here will directly impact the downstream. So directly 2 billion people. So that means 1/4 of the humanity is impacted. So mountains have to receive more attention in future. So in this slide, you can see the Indian Himalayan region. So Indian Himalayan region, if you look at, then Ladakh is Union Territory, Jammu and Kashmir is now Union Territory. We have Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand. These are in the western part. And then in the eastern, we have Sikkim, some North Bengal hills in West Bengal, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, 2 hill districts in Assam, Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram, and Tripura. So these are the areas. 16% of India's area is the Indian Himalayan region, and 86 million people live here. So you can just see a very small population live. 8.6 crores of people live in the mountains out of 140 million crore people. So in that context, people in the mountains are less, but the importance of mountains are much more. So if we look at the 8 countries, the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, 11% of the India's contribution is in that, but India is still highly populated if you compare with other Tibetan Plateau and like that. 36% of the Hindu Kush Himalayan region is covered by the Indian Himalayan region in terms of population. Very importantly, 63% of water budget is coming in India from the Himalayan region, Indian Himalayan region. 36% of the India's forests are in the Indian Himalayan region. All the glaciers and alpine region are in the Himalayan region. 60% of endemic plants which are found only in this part of the world are actually coming of India is in the Himalayan region. So this is a very, very important natural asset which needs to be developed, which needs to be kept in mind in terms of our development, the country's development and the regional development. So when we talk about the nature, the Himalayan region and the country as a whole, and the Indian Himalayan region or other neighboring countries, I think some of the ecosystems are very, very important. And I say H2O, Himalaya to ocean. So water is linking H2O, Himalaya to ocean. So the whole planning has to be done in river basin approach, where mountains, forests, and rivers, wetlands, the farmland, cities, and the coast come in the picture. So this is what our planning has to be. And when we talk about the Himalayan region, almost we can have many of the ecosystems. And if we look at the river basin approach, then suddenly we will see it links very much with the sea and the ocean. So when we talk about sustainable development and we look at the mountains, there are certain issues that we have to really see, and they are all human development related issues when we talk about sustainability. One is definitely poverty. And when we talk about poverty in the mountains, it is multidimensional poverty. It is not just the economy poverty. It's the energy poverty, it's the health related poverty, it's the food insecurity related poverty. These are all adding to the poverty. So it's not just the money that they earn which we can value. So multidimensional poverty, if we look at, so if we look at the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, some countries like Bhutan are mostly all mountains. And then if you look at other countries, then you will see mountains are poorer than other parts of the country. So this clearly shows that mountains need more attention. So other parameters, if you look at food insecurity, 30% of the Hindu Kush Himalaya population suffers from food insecurity. They don't have sufficient food. So that is a biggest worry. And then we say 50% of the people in the mountains are malnourished, and 1/5 to 1/2 of the children below 5 years of are stunted. So you can even imagine if we are talking about developed India, and if we are not considering some of these matters, the youth, the children, if they are stunted, how they can perform best. So we need to really see, and in development paradigm, we have to see, bring all of these. Let's look into the energy. 500 gigawatts of hydro potential is there, but it's very less built. The problem is also we have to see what are the safer, environmental friendly hydropower programs. Run of the river, not damming, all these have to be looked into. Still 80% of the people are depending on dirty energy. They don't have access to clean energy. So that's a big, big worry. Then we have seen mountains are also facing another big social problem of out migration. People are going to Middle East, they are going to different parts of big cities in India and mountains. And if you go to Uttarakhand, you will see many ghost villages. Means village houses are there, but people are not living anymore. So how the mountain development can be thought, how the resources can be managed in the mountains, they are becoming very much challenging. So in my next slide, I will talk about the biodiversity. So suddenly biodiversity is also a big issue. So here, for next 4-5 slides, I'll talk about biodiversity because I think for many students who are students of biology, I thought I should bring because biodiversity is a very important resource of the country as well as of this region. And what has been the changing paradigm in terms of managing these resources. So if you look at this slide, this is, I said in the beginning, in the first slide, 50% of global biodiversity hotspots are in mountains. So there are 36 global hotspots. Out of that, 4 are already in this region. Mountains of Central Asia, which is part of Afghanistan, that part was the Himalaya, then mountains of Southwest China and Indo-Burma. But I have to tell you, still, very interestingly, in the eastern part, you will see 3 global hotspots, Indo-Burman, Himalayan, mountains of Southwest China are meeting. Because they are meeting, there is evolution still taking place, speciation is happening. So you can see many endemic species found in this. Means the species are evolved here and they are found only in this part of the world. So for many students in this university, if you want to do research, also consider and try to think to go to Northeast and Northeast India and in the Eastern Himalayan region, so that you have lots of chance. You also, there are possibility for going to Western Ghats also if you want to work in mountains. And of course, there are some mountains also in Madhya Pradesh. So mountains need special attention. And in the Eastern Himalaya, we have found from 1998 to 2000, nearly 351 new discoveries were done. So still this region is not explored or discovered. And if we look at the 15th century, 70 to 80% of original habitat and biodiversity are gone. So we are working with 20 to 30% of what was there in 15th century. But still it is very rich and very important, and it has a lot of potential for human survival in the future. So some of the paradigm change for conservation of biodiversity. So we used to work, do conservation of charismatic species like tiger, elephant, leopard. So that was from 1930 to 1980. So slowly, then, okay, just the species doesn't work. We need to also restore, manage habitats. So the approach of protected area management came from 1970 onwards. And then comes the buffer zone and involving people. So people cannot be kept isolated and people have to be part of this. So that approach came. And from 1980 onwards, then landscape and ecosystem approach came. And in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, I can take pride that I introduced the landscape approach and transboundary landscape management from 2004 onwards. And that has taken a long, leap forward. But now from 2020 onwards, right now what I am saying is that landscape approach will not help. Multifunctional landscape and socio-ecological landscape and their restoration is the approach for future. So this is how then people are part of this whole process. So we have to bring sociology, anthropology, we have to bring economics, we have to bring biodiversity and others together if we want to manage these landscapes. So certainly very important. So I already talked about endemic species that is found only in this region. And the Himalayan region is very rich in endemic species. And for that region, the biodiversity conservation is fundamental and critical. And in this slide, I'm trying to show you, so I talked about there are 4 biodiversity hotspots: Himalaya, Indo-Burman mountains of Southwest China, and Central Asian mountains. If we look at the first 2 columns, Himalayan and Indo-Burman, you can see for plants, animals, birds, freshwater. In the parentheses are the endemic species. So for plants in the Himalaya, almost 30%, and in the case of Indo-Burman, almost 50% are endemic. If they are lost from this region, they are lost from this planet. The survival of the planet is also questioned here. Similarly, if you look at the fish species, you will see similarly there. So for researchers, the young researchers, when you look at biodiversity conservation, I think the status of threatened species are very critical. The population trend of threatened species in terms of decreasing, nearly more than 50% is decreasing. So that means strong conservation methods are required. And for researchers, young students and teachers who want to work, see, there is a large number, almost 26% still status is unknown in terms of their threatened, not threatened. So there is a potential for research for young students to work on this. Then Indian biodiversity hotspot is important. I talked about 8 countries. So within India, we have Himalaya, we have Indo-Burman. So northeastern states are Indo-Burman, Western Ghats, South India. Western Ghats also extends to Sri Lanka, another country. It's also a transboundary hotspot. Then Sunderland. Sunderland is also transboundary, you can mention, but our Nicobar area is Sunderland protected area, and then further. The importance of India in terms of biodiversity is a mega diversity country, very much. 9% of global species are found in Indian region. So India, not only Himalaya, but Indian. 12th mega diversity country. And now the number of these plant species animal has increased. More than 50,000 plant species and more than 100,000 animal species are found in the India. So you can imagine how important it is in terms of biodiversity for our students to learn about this natural asset capital, and then how we have to restore. There is so much of emphasis now, not only doing science, but to have a restoration science, how we can restore these species, landscapes back into nature. One of the biggest drivers of change that we see in the Himalayan region, including the Indian Himalayan region, is climate change and its impact. So now let me go through some of the slides. So in 2015, I was one of the advocates, and I was also in Paris when there was a signing of this summit, climate summit, where we agreed 1.5 degree world by 2100. But that we signed, all the countries signed actually, and I was advocating, we were advocating for mountains. But by last year, when the reassessment was done, I think we are not doing well. This 1.5 degree by 2100 we are saying is already going to reach by 2030. So that means it's a big danger. And 1.5 degree rise globally means it's already too hot for the Himalayan region. It's 2.1 degree. So Himalaya heats up more faster than other areas. So there is the amplification of temperature rise along the elevation. So higher the elevation, the faster rate of rising. So this is a very critical situation that we have seen. And for the Himalayan region, the worry in the higher altitude have glaciers. Glaciers are melting. And they are melting very, very fast in many places because of rise of temperature. And we have seen some of the areas, you see Pamir, Hindu Kush and Karakoram in the westernmost part of the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, they are heating the most. And the eastern Himalaya is less and western Himalaya is still heating fast. So, but the issue of when I look at the temperature change, then very interestingly, we see western is facing very much problem. And I will tell you, the loss of glaciers are going to be critical all along the Himalayas. So this is about a Mallory expedition which took place in 1921. And this slide was taken from Tibet, Sigatse, where you have heard about a month ago, there was a earthquake, 7.1 degrees. So Sigatse, so in that, from that, this is the base, near the base camp of Everest from the Tibet side, taken photo. And you can see all these dirty things, mountain-like things, they are all glaciers. So what has happened because of climate change and global warming over the years, you can see the glaciers have melted so much. Seeing is believing. So if I have to talk to the politicians, I think they will understand. You see once more. So much of glaciers have disappeared and glacial lakes are formed. And these glacial lakes are one of the most riskiest things for floods. I'll talk about those floods a little later. So this is what is happening, and glacial lake outburst floods are one of the biggest hazards that we are seeing in the mountains. So 1.5 degree world, which we agreed in Paris, by 2100, then we will lose 1/3 of the glacier. But by 2030 only, we are going to reach this. So with the current emission, 2/3 of the glaciers will be gone by 2100. So that means much of the snow-covered areas, snow volumes will start and snow lines will move upwards, and then there is going to be a scarcity in many areas, not everywhere, of water in this region. Another big thing, the glacial lake outburst, and because of climate change, permafrost is being depleted. So the soil actually is bound in high altitude, even the rocks by the permafrost, which is the frozen ice. But now if it is melted, they are loose and they are causing lots of floods down streams. And you can see all those big round things are flood size which is happening. So here, if you look at the on the right hand side, you can see a small graph where you can say 1980 to 1990. 1990 to 2000 and 2000 to 2010, you can see these are the decadal periods and events and impacts of disasters in this region. The lowest row is the number of events, and you can see in this decadal change there is increase in some increase in events, distinctly doubled or tripled. But if you look at blue, which is the number of people killed, so you can see substantial change, 10 times or even more, you will see by 2010. So this is showing a huge impact, and you can see yellow is the affected number of people and orange is the economic loss. So now because of development, many infrastructures are coming in the mountains and near the mountains, and because of that, there is a great economic loss which is happening. So the impact of climate change downstream is huge. So 2023 October, you can see this Sikkim. In Lonak Valley, there was a avalanche which has happened, and because of that, then the lake was burst, and you can see what has happened downstream. You can see in this map very much. And dam, which is in Chungthang in Sikkim, you can see lower part of the picture is the dam, which was fine, working for several years, but because of the flood, the entire dam has been washed away. 1,400 crores were used to make it, and now they are trying to invest another 500 crores to rebuild it. So I am trying to say that if there is such development having without a good science background and supported, it is not going to help. The irony is the monitoring. So in high altitude areas, there are very less monitoring which is taking place. And then you can see this is a loss of in this region because of the impact. There is loss of ice. You can see the glaciers are melting, but people living next to the glaciers are impacted immediately now, which we are seeing. The precipitations are changing very much. So, and there is so much of uncertainty. There might be winter rains, or there is no winter rains for several years, we have observed. So, we will see lots of changes, uncertainty. So good science needs to be brought in. So people, this is Ladakh. People living next to the glaciers, so they are suffering most. And you can see in many places glaciers have vanished, melted, and very little opportunity for livelihoods of the people who are living next to the glacier. The planning. I want to show this slide very much. A science has to have a good input to planning, design, and action. This particular slide shows that we can just say glacier melting and our glaciers are gone. But see, region-wise, if we see the Indus River, the blue in the graph on the right-hand side, you can see the blue is the glacial melt volume for in the Indus basin, and then comes the mountain watershed water, and then comes the groundwater. So in Indus basin, the impact of glacier melting will have huge impacts in Pakistan, in Ladakh, in Jammu and Kashmir. All those areas will have a huge impact from glacier melt. But in Ganga basin, in the middle graph, you can see very little, only 15 to 16% or 20% of 15% is coming from glacier melt. So most of the water has to be coming from mountain watersheds. So good forests in the mountains are a good design, good practice to give the water or keep the water flowing in River Ganga. So and also you can see ground water table is also actually built or recharged by the mountain watersheds during rainy season. So this is very important. So our design in the national TV, I was hearing that Prayagraj, Sangam will disappear. There will be no water after some time. But if you look at the science basis, only 15% of glacier melt is going to be impacting. That means there will be little less, but it is not the story which we are hearing in TV, television, just few days ago. And if we look at Brahmaputra, again, it increases because Brahmaputra River, again, originates very far away in Kailash region, Mansarovar region in Tibet, and 1,500 kilometers in the Tibetan plateau is moved. So it's the much of the glacial feeding takes place. That's why Brahmaputra still has around 25%. So you can imagine, so the planning has to be done in this matter. So climate change impact. So this slide shows from 2020 to 2100, 15% of climate change impact on rice yield. So you can see, I was talking about 3 to 4 billion people live from their food security is coming from this region. And if 15% goes down of rice yield, you can have a huge impact in food security of the people in this region and elsewhere. So it's just only for one crop, like that for other crops also, it will have impact. So climate change is really having huge impact. We have seen in the Himalayan region, the 1 degree rise. This is a oak forest example in Uttarakhand, just 1 degree increase in temperature can change the entire oak habitat and oak related biodiversity. So all important biodiversity which are related to oak forest are also lost. That means lots of ecosystem services are lost. So these are the huge impacts that we see. Now, let me, because of what we are facing, I think what are the solutions that needs to be looked into also, and see the opportunities of people. So let me start talking about some nature-based solutions, climate actions, and resilience. And we can quickly see mountains support large, high level of agricultural diversity. And they are very much premium, and they are very much found only in one places. On the right-hand side, you can see caterpillar plant. So, when I was in Hong Kong market about 10 years ago, and I was looking into this caterpillar plant, which is called Yasa Gomba, it was $80,000 for 1 kilogram. You can see it's also called green gold. So there are many opportunities in the Himalayan region, and you see so much of niche crop which can be utilized. So farmers, the people living in the mountains, have to really see, develop, and go for premium prices. But what is happening because of climate change? There is a problem, crop failures, all these are happening. So diversification of products is very important. So continuous no winter rains caused the last cardamom gardens, and the diseases were coming, and they were really uprooted and gone. So in that context, we brought the approach with diversification. So cardamom with kiwi. So if one fails, the kiwi will give, or if other fails, so then also bringing honeybee, spice garden tourism, homestays, and really value adding and exporting. So diversification approach really helps the mountain farmers. I talked about this Yasa Gumba green gold. So in case of Bhutan, a good story, students. So I was in Isimod, and I supported one PhD student for doing sustainable harvesting of Yasa Gumba in Bhutan. In Bhutan, this harvest of this Yasa Gumba was totally banned. So the Tibetans were coming from China and collecting it from the timberline zone where it is found. So the local people were not protecting the environment, the habitats were degrading, there was a lot of environmental issues. So this study, a small study which was done on sustainable harvesting, was found so important that we took it to the government and requested government to do a piloting of sustainable harvesting rather than banning. And that practice has been adopted by government, by people. Now you can see Yasa Gumba is officially such a high value crop, up to $80,000, I'm saying, are converted in different forms, tea and other things, and being sold to international market. So there are so much of opportunities in the Himalayan region that needs to be tested. Now coming to one very important aspect, integrated approach for sustainability. This is a science part which I want to really talk. A good science has to be linked with policy and practice, and that can be done. So for researchers who are sitting here, I think evidence-based information and knowledge, but research into youth, we have to make a step forward, and we have to see how that research which you have done can be put into practice, how it can be used. A small one paragraph, half paragraph of your research paper will, in terms of its use, will be very, very useful in terms of putting into policy or practice. In policy, I think if the researchers at higher level, which I do now, if we are able to do think tanking at the national level or the state level, information, all those policies, when we are making evidence-based, then that will really take us a way forward. And lots of the policies needs to go to the grassroots community, and good practices has to come to practice. So this is very, very important. Please remember my slide, last slide, is going to show you the evidence of this. Research, policy, and practice. If we combine two, then we will come for the sustainable solution. So after a few slides, I'll come to the last slide. Please remember this slide, integrated approach, and I'll give you an example of Nepal, how this was successful. So science to action now. because most of us, when I say science, again, I say all types of science, social science, physical science, natural science, and how we need to put action. So my experience is that while working in the 8 countries, we have really seen, for Himalayan region, if we want to save, it is not one country. All the 8 countries have to work together. So if we are not cooperating, so science diplomacy came. I really, for 10 years when I was Deputy Director General, so science diplomacy, bringing evidence and talking to the government was critical and very important. If the governments or the institutions or business, if they are not cooperating, then we are going down the hill. If we get some projects and try to do a little bit at our level, university cooperation, then we might muddle through and improve little bit, but it is not going to be really a prosperous Hindu-Kush Himalayan region. So we need to develop a prosperous Hindu-Kush Himalayan region. For that, I think large investments should come from the top, but the programs has to come from the bottom. And if they come together, then that is possible. And both the pathways are critical and important. And this is what we try to do in the Hindu-Kush Himalayan region to make it prosperous. We did an assessment, the first one, the Hindu-Kush Himalaya assessment, 350 scientists. We did an assessment, but just the science assessment will not do. We need to have policy action. For that, once the results started coming, we worked with the 8 country governments to develop the SKS call to action based on the science, and this action was adopted, signed and declared by the ministers on 20th October, 15th October 2020. You can see all of us are here with ministers from all the 8 countries, including India, who have signed this, and the task force has been made. So science has to be then put into policy and practice. This is what we have tried to do. And without that, the prosperous Hindu-Kush Himalayan region cannot happen. The diplomacy is to bring all these countries together. While we were in Galwan, there was face-to-face, and there were problems at the border with Pakistan, China. The ministers were signing for the environment. So you can imagine how important the science and basis to bring it forward and make it happen. So this is a very important example. So similarly, when we were doing that and we were working with Niti Aayog, you can see Niti Aayog chair, Dr. Missile Man, Dr. Saraswat is also there. He was the main person with whom we worked. I was there with all Amitabh, and then you can see DSP Secretary. All of us, we were releasing that work, and this work was 5 reports that we produced together. I came from Kathmandu with my team. For almost 3 years we worked, and then we established the Himalayan States Regional Council headed by Niti Aayog. So if we want to put action, we need to have a good science. That is what I am trying to say here. So I talked about lots of science, but the action and the policy is equally important. Now, this is my last slide, and I have asked you to look into an integrated approach slide. If you remember, I said research, policy, and action. This is let me. This is Hindu-Kush. This is Nepal. You can see this slide was taken in 1987. And what had happened was in 1970s, there is a book by Bruno Messerli, very much, Himalayan Dilemma. Means middle hills of Nepal had totally deforested and gone. So now they were saying now Himalaya is gone and it will be very difficult. So it's a Himalayan Dilemma they wrote. So because of that, there was a policy awareness. And then what happened? The institution like us, ICIMOD, we did lots of research with many institutions. So research came for good forest practices, which species to plant, which are the non-timber forest products that can be brought. So that was the research part. The other part was policy. Policy was government of Nepal agreed to devolve power to the local communities. The forest user committees were formed. 17,000 user groups are there now in Middle Hills, in Nepal. So they were formed. So they are the institutions. Very much institution is the forest user groups. And the policy was to devolve and give rights to the local people. So the research, rights, and the government's decision policy to make this happen. Now you can see this is a degraded forest. In 15 to 20 years, how this has changed. You see it again, such a degraded place. So I talked about all biodiversity, sustainable development, peoples, water, all those things you can see in this one slide, that degradation, the restoration by bringing policy change, institution, local communities, user groups, and then good science coming in, you can change the entire, and we can green the Himalayas. If the Himalaya is green, the planet will be green. So with this word, I would like to stop here, and again, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your invaluable thoughts and profound knowledge with us. You make us more aware about the adverse effect of climate change. And nicely you explained that all form of science is the core for good research and for sustainable development, and motivate the students to move forward for a meaningful research and be a part of developed nations. So we are very grateful, sir, for your presence and deeply appreciate your time and wisdom. Now the session is open for discussion. You all are welcome to discuss your queries with sir.
Yeah, good
Sharing.
afternoon, sir.
Yeah, let me, yeah. Yes.
Actually, sir, this is Dr. Ankur Bharadwaj, and I have a question, sir, regarding environmental conservation. Sir, my question is, how can the sustainable tourism could be balanced with environmental conservation to support both economy and ecosystem of this Hindu Kush Himalayan regions?
It's a very good question. I have been struggling. See, right now the problem, if I give you example of Sikkim.
Yes, sir.
Sikkim, you know Sikkim?
Yes, sir.
So I had my first project, big international project, USAID project was in Sikkim on ecotourism, Sikkim biodiversity and ecotourism. Where again I brought the community, the PhD students and policy together. And then at that time, the number of tourists going was only 150,000,
Yes,
tourists. And the population of Sikkim was around 6 lakhs there. So you can imagine, and right now the population of Sikkim is still around 7 lakhs, but the number of people per year they go is around 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs. So that means the resources which are there in local are being used for tourism purposes. So there is huge problem that is coming. So how we can balance that? You have to unmute, yeah, if you want to talk. You are speaking. On mute, please. So we have to really balance. My thing is that the carrying capacity of a given region has to be really worked out. The design has to be done. Local communities have to be involved in tourism. So the new concept is how local communities can be involved in tourism. So this is what we have to do. The major problem that we see in terms of tourism is also pilgrimage. So right now, if you go to Badrinath, Kedarnath, Amarnath, there is a huge, large population going, which are the people from outside.
yes, sir.
For them, the resources are not actually calculated. For them, the resource quality, the services are not there. So I think the type of tourism, mass tourism, is not going to be good. We have to learn from Bhutan. Bhutan is a perfect example where they try to limit certain areas. We cannot limit everywhere, but at least very important areas where we have our cultural sites, we have biodiversity sites, we have archaeological sites. Those areas are critical areas where climate change is having big impact. There we have to have a value-based tourism that needs to be brought. So suddenly tourism is a huge problem in the Himalayas. Waste management, today I didn't cover about the waste. Waste is another huge problem that we face in Himalayan region. And tourism and waste are very much strongly linked.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Oh, you were saying, I saw somebody speaking from there, so I was looking at another person. Sorry. You are Dr. Ankur, no? You were asking me Bhardwaj. Okay, sorry.
I think it
So-
was a very informative session. In one of the slides, you have mentioned that women are more susceptible to disease in these regions. What is the reason?
So actually, because of climate change, the problem what has happened is that many of the vectors, many of the diseases, they are going to those areas. So you go to now Lhasa, which is more than 10,000 feet above sea level. There you can now you see mosquito. So those people who are living there for so long time, they are not used to these malaria or other type of diseases which the mosquito is bringing. So in newer areas, in higher elevations, we are seeing more disease. So the main problem is also their nutrition. The nutrition in the mountains, they are not balanced. And I said children are stunted. So because of that, I think food is a critical thing. And now, because of tourism, again, what is happening? People are eating all these noodles and like that, and they are not really eating the local food. In many places, these are the problems that the tourism has brought. But now it's reviving, it's changing. The local cuisines are encouraged, local buckwheat, all these different lentils, different types of food are being encouraged in the mountains. You go to many areas, you will see only local cuisines. And because of that, even the local people are getting better food than otherwise. But I think we should have a very good program on health, definitely in Himalayan region, because they have I said poverty, so very much, and multidimensional poverty. Health is one of the biggest issues. So many people, when they are having health problem, they have to come down to Dehradun, or they have to come down to Siliguri from Darjeeling or Sikkim, or they have to go to very far away places because we don't have those facilities. So health is one of the major problems in the hills, in the mountains. Likewise, you go to Lhasa, same problem in Tibetan plateau. It's so far away, very little facilities are there. Go to northern Myanmar, go to Afghanistan. So health is a big issue in the Himalayan region, different parts of the Himalayan region. So the region has to, if you want a good generation, if you want to a healthy people to live in the mountains, I think health issues has to be looked into, and in health, nutrition is fundamental.
Yeah, so the basic reason is the malnutrition.
Yeah, malnutrition is a major cause.
Thank you. Professor Guru Prasad, do you have any question?
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, Ujjwala, go ahead.
Sir, like people are now aware of dry and wet waste and their segregated disposal. So what are the possible measures on collective ground we can make to decrease the intensity of glacier lake outburst?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, like people are now aware that how can we dispose or segregate the dry and solid waste, wet waste. So on the similar grounds, what are the possible measures that we can make to decrease the intensity of glacier lake outburst? How can we make people aware?
Yeah. So one thing, you see, high altitude areas, glaciers are those areas where very few people live. Number one. So they visit, but they don't live in glaciers for very long. They are a little away from the glaciers. The problem with the glaciers high altitude is there is very less monitoring. So I have been talking in Government of India and also with other people. So you can imagine in high altitude, there is very less more. We don't know what is happening in high altitude areas. In this Lonak Valley where I stood in Sikkim, after the floods only we got this information. But I think we should get those information prior to the incident. This is one part. The other part is those people who are in those river basins have to be made aware. If there is a burst, what are the things that they should do? You will not believe in this Sikkim incident in Singtam where maximum number of people died. So actually the flood had started. They had the time of 20 minutes. There was so much of announcement. People they remained lazy and they were not listening to this warnings, and they stayed there and they died. So awareness is very, very important, critical, and then awareness part and monitoring part both have to be strengthened. So on top of that, when we are talking about any river basin, it has to be scientifically designed. It has to be really technically looked into properly for which are the risk zones. They have to be identified. People should not have their properties or housing in those risk areas. So only 82 people died. But if they have been properly this thing, no one would have died also. So the awareness and people's quick action is very important in such incidents. Whenever disaster happens, is the response how people make are very important.
Hello, good afternoon, sir. I have a question. Sir, you told about the energy poverty. So my question is that how can we remove energy poverty with sustainable development in Hindu Kush region?
Yes, energy, there are already possibilities. See, after Paris Agreement in India, so two major things we have seen. One is that Energy Efficiency Commission. To really bring and see how it can help India. This is one. The other one definitely is the alternative clean energy, that's the move for solar. So these are important. But let me tell you practical problems. See, when I am in the foothills like in Siliguri right now, so I pay 850 rupees for one cylinder of LPG. It is only 1 hour drive from here to my parental house in mountains in Darjeeling, Karshiom. So when that cylinder reaches there, I pay 1150. And if the mountains are providing services, where is the subsidy going? So that is what I am trying to say. If the people elsewhere who are not giving so much of services, ecosystem services, so we have to see need-based, approach-based. We have to give some, not subsidy, or some sort of relief to the people in the mountains. Otherwise, they will not be able to afford. This is number one. Number two, see, we have to really encourage solar. I have seen in the hills, because of cloud, solar doesn't work, people were saying. Last 1 year, I have put in one holy place solar supported CCTV and solar lights as my contribution to that small place. And you will not believe, in last 1 year, it has worked perfectly without any problem, any hitch. And CCTV has also captured this Black Panther, where the people every day visit for this thing. In the night, they capture Black Panther. What I'm trying to say, there are energy options very much. But I'm also happy to say that in mountains, forests are coming back. So slowly people are moving away from using fuel wood to other forms of energy. But they are still, LPG is not clean energy. The problem is that we have to bring safer energy. Hydropower is relatively clean energy. But the problem is with big dams and like that, it is causing other environmental problems, other problems. So that whole design has to change. But I feel that there are many, I mean, if we look at the National Energy Plan, so in that, so clean energy is trying to gain the percentage every year, and we are trying to achieve our goals to go for cleaner energy. And cleaner energy are definitely expensive in many cases. So how we balance economic need to get those clean energy to the mountain people is a big challenge. See, like the Green Revolution didn't go to the mountains. See, all these missions are somewhat lagging behind in India to reach the mountain.
Thank you, sir.
So, I just had a question. In the afforestation program which you are doing, increasing the green cover, is there a limitation because of the low temperature and the altitude?
I think we are using native species. In native species, they are already with the temperature. Our problem is not the low temperature. Our problem is now the temperature is rising, and because of temperature rising, the quality of species, many invasive species are coming. So in high altitude rangeland, also because of temperature rise, many new invasive species have come, and they are not allowing to have a good pasture land, and we are having a degraded pasture land. And wherever we are planting trees or we are trying to have assisted natural regeneration, you will not believe, if you have come to Darjeeling area and if you are driving, there is a Sincel Wildlife Sanctuary. What happened? Some people during the agitation, they cut the trees. Now the bamboos, local bamboos have become invasive. So they have covered entire area, only bamboo, and there are no trees, So that is a huge problem we are seeing. It is the other way because of temperature rise and because of people's action. As we go in the elevation, then there are invasive species are having bringing problem very much, and many species in high altitude areas, because temperature is rising, range is shifting even for species like seed bearing. Slowly after 10 years, 15 years, they are shifting. So there is no further place to go up in high altitude areas. So many high altitude areas species are being lost. So it is very much warming is really causing other species from outside and invasive species to come, and that has really created problem of having a good natural forest. But our approach now in Northeast India is to give a lot of this thing, we call it OECM, other conservation areas, where communities, not in the government land, but in the communities, how they are able to conserve. We are trying to put more effort so that the community themselves are, or the households are conserving. So our approach now, my new project in the Northeast India is in community conserved areas.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, myself, Dr. Archana, I have a small question, sir. Sir, as somebody has asked about the tourism in this Himalayan regions. So, sir, is there any government facilities provided by the government to local people to encourage the tourism as sustainable tourism?
Of course, there are small packages. So if you go to Sikkim, so when I was working, so we had a big problem in Yoksam. So we were trying to introduce a theory. Theory was that if we provide incentive or money to the local communities in terms of earning, the local communities will conserve forest. So that was the thing. And then we found that, see, the hoteliers were having LPG quota and kerosene quota. I'm talking about 1990s. And kerosene and LPG to get was a huge problem. We had to be in queue for so many days to get those. So the travel agents who were taking these tourists, they didn't have quota. So what was happening? They were cutting the trees at high altitude areas very much and destroying the forest. So we brought in the policy. The local government, then what they did was provided the quota for the travel agency for LPG and this thing. So see, this is one thing. So now that particular practice is still going on. So they are providing housing for homestays. They are providing soft loans. So government is doing lots of inputs depending upon the state, because tourism is the state affair. So Sikkim is doing very well in tourism, whereas Darjeeling is encouraging mass tourism. And it is more pollution, trash is not managed. So state by state it differs, but some states are doing very good. Some states are rather performing very poorly, and the government support is also not adequate in some states.
Sir,
And
actually,
one of the Niti Aayog report, you can go to Niti Aayog and read. There is one of the report is on tourism. So you please go and in their website and download. I showed that slide. So there are 5 reports.
sure, sir.
One is in tourism, one is on shifting cultivation, one is on skills development. So you can see, and one is on data sharing. So these paper reports are there. On tourism, there is one. Please see that.
Oh, sure, sir. Sure, sir. Sir, actually, I just want to mention one thing. One of the guy his name is Prasad Gowde. He's from Goa. Am I audible? Sir,
Yeah, yeah.
he's from Goa. He's an environmentalist. Sir, actually, how he's anchoring the local tourism is, he's telling the farmers and the local people that let the tourist people come to your home, let them stay to your home, and let them make all that, do all the activities whatever you are doing, so starting from your morning up to the bedtime, whatever you are doing, means going to farm, weeding, whatever things you are doing, let them enjoy that thing, because most of the tourists, means urban peoples, are going to rural areas for enjoying their life. So he's thinking that they should know what actually the people feel and how they live in villages and this such type of remote areas, and he's encouraging the people in such ways
That
so
is
that
correct.
people may get money, more
Yeah,
money,
this is
and they will
happening.
preserve their tradition.
This is happening nowadays. Even whenever I go to homestay. So many of our project sites, corridor sites, they are in the villages. We go and stay in homestays. Homestay means whatever you are saying, exactly the homestay.
Yes, sir.
Goes and stays in a home and eat whatever the home is, exactly home type, and the income is coming to local people, local food, local organic products, all those are there. So it is
Yes, sir.
in large scale in mountains now, large scale across all the. That's a good practice, and I'm
Yes.
happy it is also happening in Goa.
Yes, sir. Goa and some coastal parts of Maharashtra.
Maharashtra, okay.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
First of all, thank you. The session was very informative as well as interesting also.
You're not audible.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes.
But thank you. The session was very informative as well as very interesting. So I have a very small query. Sir, is glacial lake outburst flood responsible for Kedarnath disaster in 2013? And is there any available techniques for predicting this kind of floods in advance?
Of course, monitoring systems are there. After Kedarnath happened, actually we in Simod strengthened our capacity very much. So there is a monitoring system. So what I was mentioning earlier, we have very few monitoring stations. So we should have more. This is number one. I'll give you 2 examples very much. In Bhutan, above Punakha Jong, there was a glacier. So there was a big glacier flood. It has happened about 30 years ago. Again, the glacial lake was built up and it was about to burst. So we were monitoring, our science team were monitoring, and based on that, with the local science team and the Royal Army of Bhutan, we worked together, and then we were able to see and siphonage the water and actually mitigate the glacial lake. Similarly, in case of Nepal, UNDP and my organization, we worked with the local institutions, and then we were able to again monitor and then also mitigate another big potential glacial lake outburst flood, which was about to happen. So these are techniques are there. The problem, I didn't show you one slide, in 20 years, from 1990 to 2010, the glacial lake number increased from 3,400 to 4,000 something, almost 1,000 in 20 years. Numbers have increased because melted. By 2,500, it is 7,000, you can see. In last 15 years, 3,000 more glaciers lakes have formed. So but we don't have enough monitoring stations. So Lonak has happened, everybody is now putting in Sikkim one. So, but what about other glaciers? Other region? There are 7,000 potential floods lakes. So I think the problem is how to find out the monitoring and try to get, and if something is going to happen, then suddenly try to see siphonage. We can avoid glacial lake outburst floods. There are siphonage. We can see if there are landslides likely to come to really protect that, to bridge the moraine, which actually keeps the water there. So these are possible, but very less effort is going in each of these countries, all the 8 countries.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. We all got benefited with your deep understanding and knowledge. Thank you so much. May I now request Director Shri Vaishnav Institute of Science, Shri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Dr. K.N. Guruprasad, to propose words of thanks. Sir, please.
Our esteemed guest and speaker, Dr. Eklavya Sharma, Vice Chancellor Dr. Rupinder Dhar, organizers, staff members, and students. We had a very enlightening talk on this Science Day on focusing more on sustainable development and biodiversity in the Himalayan region. Dr. Sharma has brought out the importance of science making the base for policies, which is a very rare thing that happens because these policies are more towards economics rather than science. But he has brought out with his own studies and a very well illustrated data of Himalayas that how important it is to make science the policy, science as the base of the policy rather than economics. And he has also brought out the fact that people are part of nature, and protecting nature is protecting ourselves, which we often forget in our rush to improve the economy. So that preservation of nature has to be an important component of all the policies in whichever region we make those policies. So I thank on behalf of the university, I thank Professor Sharma for a very enlightened presentation on this Science Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All of you are requested to put your camera on for a minute to take a photograph. Thank you all. As a mark of respect to our nation, I kindly request everyone to please rise for national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
भारत माता Mata ki Jai.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sharma. It was very great.
Thank you very much. Let's be in touch. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Sure. I will be
Thank you,
writing to
sir.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much for your presence and engagement. All of
Thank
you
you,
have
ma'am.
made
Thank
this
you.
event truly meaningful. Thank you all.